Okay, hey guys, so this is Tim back again with another video, and yeah, this is kind of a new thing. I thought I'd do a vlog. I haven't never really done vlogs before. If you don't count my, well, I guess my server build video was sort of kind of like a vlog and my website introduction. But in the meantime, I got a better camera because I want to expand the YouTube channel as well, with maybe doing some interviews and maybe doing some vlogs every now and then. No idea if you guys will actually like a vlog style like this, but yeah, well, I mean, if you like it, let me know, give it a thumbs up, etc. Anyway, so the reason for this vlog is mostly that I was looking at my calendar and it's March now, and that means that I've been freelancing now for 5 years. So I started freelancing I think on the 2nd of March 2015, so that's exactly 5 years ago. And I thought maybe it might be cool to maybe do like a little vlog about it. Some of you guys might have seen my presentation at FMX, which was called #FreelanceDuckLife. And that's a hashtag I've been trying to make a thing for the past 5 years or something. I actually own the domain name as well. I own freelanceducklife.com. So if you go to there, it'll forward to timvanhelsdingen.com. Anyway, so the FMX presentation was, I mean, I had to fit it in 30 minutes. And there was some stuff that I couldn't discuss, and it was, of course, I mean, you're gonna prepare that, so it's gonna be like a little bit more formal in a sense. So I figured maybe this might make for a good sort of vlog style video, and maybe go a little bit more in depth about my experience and my experience freelancing as an effects artist. And just, I guess, general maybe sort of pointers towards for people that might be interested in like starting to do some like freelancing. So for me, a little bit of a background. So how I started freelancing was I graduated in 2013. I did a audiovisual design study, which wasn't really it wasn't really a CG school per se. I did audiovisual design, which is more like filmmaking in general. And the reason I did that instead of like an animation or CG school was because before that I did a multimedia design study. And because I've been animating and doing 3D and stuff since I was like 14, and I'm like almost 32 now. I'm ancient. So I've been doing that since forever. But I did an internship during that first study, and that internship was like pretty terrible. So I was like, screw it, like I don't wanna do that anymore. I'm just gonna do like audiovisual design, like gonna be filmmaker or something. Anyway, I started doing that study, and then after a couple of months, I mean, there were classmates of mine that were doing like motion design and VFX stuff for the movie that we were making. Because it was like an all-round thing. We also had like some courses on like for 3D and other stuff. So they were doing all that stuff, and I was constantly thinking like, I also kind of want to do that. I can also do that. So at the end of like the first year, I did I made like an animation. Like I spent a couple of months making an animation. It was called Dreamscape Fly Through Animation, and it was like just all kinds of animation styles in one video. And I was at the time super happy with it, and showed it to the class, and everybody was like, this is really cool. Anyway, so from that point on, I just started doing like animation stuff. Because like it was more of a audiovisual school, and I kind of ended up rolling into an internship at doing mostly motion design. So I did motion design I did an internship at Shosho Rotterdam. So they are like a motion design studio. So from that I rolled into, after that, my first job, which was sort of similar, at a company in Amsterdam. I worked there for 1.5 years. I was hired to do a lot of 3D stuff there, but ended up being mostly like After Effects, motion designy stuff with Cinema 4D work as well. So I did it for 1.5 years, and then I quit my job to start freelancing. So the reason I just didn't get another job or something is that, I mean, I rolled into this whole sort of motion designy field, but I kind of wanted to do effects and simulations. So ever since I started doing 3D when I was younger, I was always interested in doing like simulations. I remember using Glue 3D inside of 3ds Max. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but it was like a very old plugin which you could like make rudimentary fluids with. I remember making like some simple water thing on rocks, and I was like super happy that I did that. And I did like stuff with like ray fire and fume effects, some like rudimentary explosions and debris stuff, like rigid body stuff, like back in 3ds Max. It was never, like, I mean, it was never any good, but I always really enjoyed that. And even when I had like the full-time job, I was experimenting with RealFlow, and I kind of enjoyed like doing just the fluid simulation stuff, and I tried doing that as much as I could. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna like quit my job and start freelancing. I mean, I made pretty shitty salary at the job at the time anyway, so I was like, even if I do pretty bad at with my freelance career, it's not gonna be that difficult to make the same amount of money. So I was like YOLO, and just quit my job with the idea that, okay, I could just start doing freelance gigs with like just After Effects, Cinema 3D stuff, just the typical stuff that I was really good at the time, was just really fast. So I could, I figured it would be easy enough to like start doing that type of stuff. And then in the meantime, started getting better and better and better at doing like simulations, which was first, I thought I was going to be like a RealFlow expert, and that obviously changed. So anyway, so I quit my job and did all that stuff, and I was like starting to get better at like simulations and stuff. And then let's track back a little bit. So in the beginning, well, I mean, I needed jobs, and in the beginning my sort of network of other people that I knew in the industry was like quite small. I mean, I had like some friends who were also creative, but I never really went to a lot of like networking events or conferences or anything. So I was like, okay, I need to know more people, because the more people I know, it will the more connections I'll have, the easier it's going to be to have like to get work. So so basically what I did, like I started from the beginning. I started going to like every event I came across, like conferences and drink events, and I organized my own drink event like first month or something. Then I started freelancing. I was like, I should organize something and then just like invite everybody in the industry. I just send out random emails, and like 120 people showed up at that thing. So it was quite a success. So that was nice, and people are like, oh yeah, he's the guy that like organized the drinks thing. So it was like quite a good start, I think. Anyway, so in the beginning, like you really like need to put your name out there. So from there, I mean, it started rolling along, and I really never had any problems getting jobs, because I think I was so active from the beginning to like really put my name out there, and I was like applying to every online freelance gig that I saw, like, oh, can I do this for you? Can I do this for you? So, I mean, it went pretty smooth from the beginning, but of course I wasn't, for the first year, I wasn't doing that much effects work. That came mostly that after a couple of months, so I think like in June of 2015, there was End User event. So that's a 3D conference in Utrecht. Joep organizes that, and it was like around for like 15 years already. So I went there and I met Jeroen and Dieber, who are now really good friends of mine, and I was talking a little bit about RealFlow and stuff. And mostly Dieber said like, oh, you should look into Houdini, because Jeroen and Dieber were both just started using Houdini, I think, at the time for a couple of months. Like, yeah, you should go and look into Houdini. You can do so much more stuff there. And also at End User event, there was a talk by Simon Holmendahl, who I think at the time started using Houdini like a year before that or something. You know, I was looking at that stuff and I was like, whoa, this is like impressive. This is really cool. I want to be able to do that. So from there, I kind of like started like thinking like, oh, maybe I should like focus on this thing. This seems really interesting, really powerful. So like at the end of 2015, I decided to like book a month off and just like start learning Houdini full time. So that's what I did. So I did that for like a couple of weeks, and then I thought I knew the basics. You can be wrong, I guess, but I mean, I thought I knew enough to maybe try it in a project. Is what I thought anyway. So after that, I did Mr. Beam approached me, and I already did some freelance gigs for them before. And they needed some collapsing buildings. So I was like, well, I know Houdini now, I can probably do this in Houdini. So ended up doing that job in Houdini. So 6 weeks after I started doing Houdini, I had no idea how constraints worked and rigid bodies, and I managed to bash everything together, and it ended up like turning out pretty cool. And there's actually the other funny story attached to that whole project, which I mentioned in my Us by Night talk, which you can see link in the description. So that's a little bit of the history of doing that. So that's how I started like getting into Houdini, and I really from the beginning I just put as much effort into learning Houdini as I could, and I started really working on my own personal projects and putting those personal projects out there, and those personal projects really helped me getting more work in. And that's what I think, like if you're like want to start freelancing, working for yourself, I really think like doing personal work is the best way to get more work. That's what I found, at least for like the boiling water that I did, or the Jeep, or like any other stuff. Anything that I made and put in a lot of my own time and that I'm really happy with, that always ended up leading to more jobs in the end. Even if you spend a couple of weeks full time working on a personal project, it ends up paying itself back like a lot. Because the thing is with like personal projects, you really can put everything you got in there. You can make it the best thing that you wanted to make. Because with client work, there's always like a limitation in terms of budget and time. Like there's always like budget and time constraints, and it's very rare that you can make it completely the way you want it to. There's always like some concessions that you have to do in like client work that you don't really need to do in like personal work. So I like with these personal projects, I always really try to push myself, and it always ends up leading to more work. And that's what I'd recommend anybody starting out, like working for yourself, to keep doing that. Like don't stop doing that to just do simple freelance gigs, because so let's say, you're doing quite okay as a freelancer, but let's say you're coming from the same background as me, and you want, like you're doing like After Effects and Cinema 4D work, and you want to transition into Houdini work. Let's say even if your freelancing goes really well, and you're constantly doing all that other work that you used to do, and you might make a lot of money doing that, but you're never gonna get the other work that you might want to get into, because how are you gonna prove that you're able to do that if you don't do those for clients? Because they're not gonna offer it for you if you haven't proven that that's something you're good at. And then you end up, and the more work you do in a certain area, the more work you start attracting in a certain area as well. So for me, for example, like I was doing the motion design stuff, but like when I was doing it full time, I also did like some editing with it as well. And I absolutely really don't like editing. If I do some editing for my personal stuff, like just editing tutorials or something, it's fine. But I really don't like extended editing or something, and I just want to put on music and work, and I cannot do that when I'm like editing. So it's like not my thing. So when I was like in the beginning, when I was freelancing, I was like, okay, I'm not going to take up any editing jobs, and really start trying to drive the work that I wanted to do, like start doing that and really put myself out there as the guy that does that type of work. And for me, that really paid off, because I only do effect work nowadays. So for me, this strategy really paid off. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna work the same for you, but I'm just like I'm just putting stuff out there that worked for me, and whatever worked for me doesn't necessarily work for you. But I'm just running my mouth and just wanted to sort of explain stuff. So anyway, so that's like a little bit of the background and how I got into to freelancing. And I mean, these days I'm doing like freelance work for a lot of cool studios, or a lot of studios in Holland, also studios all over the place, a lot of other countries. When I started out, I was doing a lot of on-site work where they'd approach me and I would go in-house at the studio, and I would just like work within their studio. Nowadays I do more for my own studio. I kind of prefer that anyway, because I think I'm more productive when I just have my own little pipeline thing and my own workflow and my own office. For example, also when let's say you're like on site working somewhere and you fire up a simulation, and let's say they don't have like separate like slaves to simulate or render on, and you're just gonna do it on your local system. You might fire up something and then you need to sort of wait for 30 minutes, or you go and watch YouTube or whatever, or you do some other stuff that's not that really resource intense that you can do in the meantime, but it's not that productive. When I work from my own office, I just I just schedule stuff to like for example, I run a sim and then I go home and then I check it. Like when I get home, I will check it, or in the meantime I'll just like go to the gym, come back to the office, sim will be done. I can sort of just like space it out the way I like to do it, and that's what I also think is like just a lot more fun when you're like your own boss and you can like make your own schedule. Of course you need to get the work done, but you can sort of like make it work the way you want it to, and that's worth a lot to me. And also I really like being able to make personal projects. Like I said, I enjoyed it a lot, and with YouTube and Patreon, also doing tutorials and being able to make my personal projects and then put those in tutorials is something I really like, and I actually try to make time for that. So by doing maybe sometimes less client work to be able to do those personal jobs, I would have never be able to do that if I was full-time employed. I mean, I would probably do some stuff on the side for fun, but if you're working 40 or 50 hours a week at a company, I mean, you kind of, when you get home, just want to watch a movie, play a game, read a book, and just be done with it. That would be me, at least. So yeah, for me, it really allowed me to like, for me, this really works. I just like being able to like make my own schedule. And I mean, even if if a cool game comes out and I decide, okay, I just want to play this game for a week, I can just take off a week. If I don't I can sort of make sure that I don't have any jobs running that week, and I can just binge the game for a week. Sometimes a little bit tricky, but I mean, I've done that. At times when I wanted to. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I think is really great about freelancing. So let's maybe talk a little bit about the monetary aspect of it. So what I see is that a lot of people who start out with freelancing are really undervaluing themselves. So if you're like from the outside looking in and you hear sort of like day rates that some freelancers might ask, it might sound like a lot of money. But if you're gonna break it down, it's actually it's more money than you make from like a regular job. But like let's say freelance. Let's say you ask 500 a day or something. So that might obviously sound a lot more than you make at your current company. But keep in mind that your boss is not just paying your wage, but he's also paying your sick day. Well, if you're in Europe, at least, in the US it's probably way different, but he's paying sick leave, vacation days, retirement, like all of that stuff will be paid for by your boss. in Europe at least. Like I mentioned, I mean, the US is a whole different story. So if you're self-employed, you have to take care of all of that stuff yourself. So if you get sick, I mean, obviously you don't get paid. If you want to go on vacation, obviously you're not gonna make any money. So let's say you take like 5 weeks off in a year. I mean, that's gonna be 5 weeks that you're not gonna have any pay. So that's obviously gonna be factored into your day rate. Your retirement, depending on like how early you want to be able to retire, it depends on how much money you want to put aside. So like for me, I put down quite a lot of money. I've been doing that for the beginning. I put aside like at least 50-60% of my income. And putting aside money in general is quite smart. So especially for the first 2 years or something, I put down like really a lot, and I really try to grow my savings account. I think at least having at least a year of savings is really important. Like especially like for me, I was so happy that I did that. A couple of years ago, late 2017, I got a burnout, which I'm not going to get too much into in this video. If you want to know more about that, I could maybe make a separate video if people are interested. So let me know in the comments if you would be interested in a separate video on that, since quite of a loaded subject and a lot of people are dealing with it. I mean, I see a lot of people in the creative industry anyway, so I don't want to get too much into it. But anyway, so I was like pushing myself way too hard for the first 2 years of freelancing. So I mean, I did make a lot of money, and I did do pretty well in those 2 years, but after that it was like basically done, and I couldn't work for a couple of months. So during those couple of months, you're not gonna have any income. So I was very happy that I put that much money aside, because I was just able to live of the extra money that I made in the time before that. So even if you think something like that would never happen, I mean, I didn't think something like that would ever happen to me, and it did happen. And you always need to take into account that you need a buffer in case stuff goes wrong, shit hits the fan. So I mean, at least save like a year. So just like when you start out, like don't do crazy vacations, don't go spend random money on random stuff, just save a lot of money. And then you have a buffer, and then you can chill a little bit. An interesting thing, by the way, from my burnout experience was that I know for a lot of people who are freelancing, they have a really hard time saying no to clients, because they think, oh, if I say no, then the client might not come back. My experience during that time, because I had to say no to a lot of jobs during those couple of months, I would just say I'm busy. But when I noticed that I was just saying that I'm busy, and I said no to a lot of jobs, but they all kept coming back afterwards. So that really showed me that it's okay to say no, and I think saying no in certain scenarios can be a lot better than saying yes. I mean, you only have limited time, and you also might have other priorities for some stuff, and you can say yes to everything. If you say yes to everything, it'll just go. It's just not a good idea. So just say no to stuff sometimes. For every opportunity you let go, maybe a better opportunity might arise. Sometimes you'd have to pick between multiple gigs that, like, usually all these jobs come in, like, you might not have jobs for a couple of weeks, and then you suddenly, like, 3 or 4 clients come like, oh, can you do stuff for me? And just suddenly way too much to do. So in those cases you kind of have to say no. I know some people will just take up all of the jobs and not sleep for a month. Don't recommend doing that. But yeah, anyway, so I kind of diverged from the original subject that I meant. Anyway, so about the the undercharging yourself. So as I mentioned, like I see a lot of people who are starting out who are sort of underselling themselves and are not charging enough. As I said, you have to take into account all of these things. And also, I see a lot of like people getting into it, sort of treating, like thinking of clients as like, oh yeah, but they're doing me a favor, they are giving me this work. No, you are doing them a favor. They need this stuff done, and you are helping them out. And I mean, like if you're good, you can charge a good fee. Of course, if you're not that great yet, you're not gonna charge top dollar, but you shouldn't like charge too low. I mean, don't go. Of course, the day rates will depend on where you live, but like even if you start out, like don't go charging under 400 euros or something. Of course, in the US, that number will be higher. In some other countries, that will be lower. Or like, don't go underselling yourself. If you're good, I mean, if you know you can get it done, charge a normal amount. Also, when valuing projects, what I tend to do is, okay, let's say you have, okay, so how much money should you charge for this particular project? So you're gonna think on what is going to cost me in terms of time. Do I need to outsource rendering, for example? So you're going to come up with a number. So your day rate time, let's say it's 5 days of work. So your day rate times 5 days, and maybe there's like 500 euros of like render credit that you need to put in. So you come up with a number. But then, like, stuff always takes more time than you think it's gonna take. So add 30% to that. So then you come up with a new number, and that's also not what you're gonna send to your client. You're gonna add 10 or 20% above that number, because clients will always lowball you. So, because if you send the earlier number, they will be like, oh yeah, it's just a little bit too much. Can you do like 20% less? They're always gonna try to do that. Well, there's cases where they might not do that. If they don't do that, you probably undersold yourself. So next time you could like up the rate. So in general, that's what I like to do. And I mean, I guess practice what you preach, because I still don't always do this perfectly. Sometimes I might still underestimate like the work, even if I did add like the extra 30%. But in general, it's sort of a rule of thumb that I'd like to sort of adhere to. So yeah, that's just like about like valuing yourself, and also like make sure that people know what you're good at. Like sort of specialize. Even if you're a generalist, have something that you excel at. For example, I labeled myself as an FX artist / generalist, or generalist / FX artist, like depending on how you want to look at it. Because I mean, I mostly do effects, but I also do some lighting, shading, sometimes compositing. So I'm like on the generalist aspect of that. I don't do any modeling or sculpting. I absolutely suck at that, so I'm not gonna do any of that. But like have something that people will remember you for. So let's say I am at a party and I'm talking to someone, and we're talking about work. And I mean, if someone is talking to you like, yeah, I do like 3D and like all kinds of things, and like I can make a model and I make like a light and anyway. So anyway, if they're doing like that, I mean, they do 3D, but if like a job comes up that requires 3D and has like very specific things, I mean, you're not gonna probably think of them, because a lot of other people also do 3D. So let's say it's a job that requires a lot of hard surface modeling. So even if the guy you met at the party was like, I do 3D and I like do some modeling, you're probably gonna think of this other guy who really puts himself out there as the hard surface guy and like has a whole portfolio full of hard surface models. And I mean, even if he's like also like lighting and shading his stuff, and then compositing it in, and like doing a whole bunch of other stuff, I mean, he's the hard surface guy. So you're gonna think of the hard surface guy instead of the other guy. And I noticed that my battery is almost dead. So I think I'm gonna wrap this up in a little bit. Anyway, I can maybe just put in a new battery. So there might be a cut, like in a bit. So anyway, so if you're like so make sure to sort of put yourself out there and like let people need to know what you're good at. Okay, I'm gonna replace the battery. I'm gonna be right back. Okay, the importance of proper planning. There was quite a, I mean, the battery wasn't full, but I thought it might be enough, but I guess I just talk way too long. So you should either talk less or just start with a full battery next time I do this. So lesson learned. So where was I? Yeah, anyway, so I mean value yourself accordingly and have sort of a niche. Even if you're a generalist, have something that you excel at and that people know you for, because it will just like be a lot easier to put yourself out there if you have somewhat of a specialization. For me, like I said before, this was quite difficult in the beginning before I really started making FX my specialty, because I was always doing like a lot of different things. I'm really happy that I am sort of an FX generalist now, and that's also kind of why I just like FX, because it's so versatile and there's so many different things that you can do within FX. I mean, even within FX you can specialize. There's people who only do rigid bodies, and then there's people who within rigid bodies only work on building tools for that, or building solvers or whatever. I mean, it's so versatile. So anyway, have sort of a niche. So yeah, I think that will probably sort of wrap up this vlog. I know I've been talking for way too long. I do hope that you found it somewhat interesting, and that, I mean, if you have been thinking about freelancing, that this might have sort of giving you some insight in what it might be like, and maybe even if maybe you were thinking about doing it and you haven't really made up your mind if you wanted to do that, maybe this video helps you putting across the line of doing it, because I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. I don't think I'd ever want to work for just a company ever. I really value being able to just draw my own path and do my own thing, and I value that just a lot more. And I mean, you might think about yeah, but freelancing is sitting by yourself all the time. It doesn't have to. Like I said in the beginning, I was working on site a lot. Right now I have a shared office with a lot of cool people, so I still have colleagues. There's even people there also doing Houdini, so which I can discuss techniques with. So it doesn't mean that you have to sit by yourself in your attic, wake up at 2 and then work until midnight. I mean, it doesn't have to be any of those things, but it does give you the freedom, and I appreciate that freedom. And also keep in mind that working for yourself, it's not for everybody. It's just, I mean, you are running a business, so you are going to have to deal with the financial aspect of it. You're gonna have to deal a little bit with taxes and stuff. About taxes, by the way, so that's maybe something I kind of want to discuss. So taxes will depend on where you live, but there are a lot of tax benefits for self-employed people. So for example, I live in the Netherlands. I think the median income here is around 39,000, let's say 40,000. And with, so at that level, the tax rate in Holland is between 36 and 52%, which is quite high. But if you're a freelancer, if you made 40,000 in profit, you won't pay between 36 and 52%. You will probably pay around 15 to 18% tax, because there's a lot of deductibles for self-employed people, because there's of course more risk involved, and you have a lot more cost. So there's a lot of these tax deductibles. Also, all of the hardware and all of the stuff you need to buy for your company, there's gonna probably be tax deductibles for that. For example, over here, if you buy something that's like above 450 euros, excluding VAT, and if you buy a total of 2,400 of that in total a year, then you get an extra 28% deductible, which I kind of have a funny story about it. I bought like a couple of years ago, I bought an iPad because I was going to FMX and wanted to have something to show my work on. And the iPad was like 440 euros. So I went to the lady from the shop and I was like, can you make this 10 euros more expensive? She didn't understand it, but she put like the 10 more euros on it. So then I would get the 28% extra deductible. So anyway, so there's a lot of those sort of tax loopholes. So like all of the stuff you're gonna buy for work, they will be like, a lot of stuff might be tax deductible, which is quite nice if you're also like into tech stuff anyway. So I mean, a lot of like computers and other stuff that I might have bought anyway as a hobby, I can now use as an expense for my company. So yeah, that also saves a lot of money. So anyway, I'm just rambling on too long. So I'm gonna cut this off in a little bit. So really, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this little vlog thing. Well, not little, like this long vlog thing. Let me know in the comments if you actually enjoyed, if you have questions. I try to respond to as many comments as I can. And seeing how the YouTube channel isn't really that big yet, that's easy. But you can help make the YouTube channel bigger, so it will be more relevant for me to do more videos. So if you hit that thumbs up icon, this really helps out the YouTube algorithm that will get my videos recommended to more people. And make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post videos. So I try to post videos every week on Monday. There might be some weeks that I don't have anything to upload, but in general I try to post every week now. I have a lot of cool stuff upcoming. I'm making an introductory Houdini course. I have some personal projects coming up, like some higher end stuff, which I will have which I will be put all of the project files for online. And anyway, there will be a lot of cool stuff coming. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to stay up to date with that. And again, really let me know if you like this type of videos, because I think it might be interesting to do more of these, but only if you guys will actually like to watch them. So let me know, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.